Just realized what the song was at the end.
You guys are singing in your head the whole time.
God, it has to be the longest intro we've had. I was sitting here like, I was like, oh, okay. Oh.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
It's a little brooding, Ryan. Well, welcome back to What the Podcast. I'm Ryan.
I'm John.
Together we are.
Ryan and John.
On the couch, as always, our producer, Cara Philly. Couldn't do it without her. But very exciting.
Very, very exciting.
Crossover. People are saying the most ambitious crossover since,
Start of
That's So Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh.
That's so
We
sweet.
have... You remember those? The crossover?
Okay, you have to say the whole title.
It was, yeah.
That's So Sweet Life of...
No.
Oh, no. That's So Sweet Life of Hannah
There
Montana.
you go.
Oh, that was
Say
the
it,
gnarly
say it
one.
right.
Well, not quite as ambitious as that crossover, but we do
I
have...
wouldn't even dare go there.
From Growing Pains with Annie, we have Annie Skobman in the studio with us today. Her first time...
Should have played her theme music. You know, we could have just brought it in.
It's like something that, like
Yeah.
that, right?
It's something a little jazzy, something
Oh
like that.
yeah, it's actually pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Would you believe that I listened to an episode today?
I would believe it, and I would bet, because Annie told me when she got here, she listened to one of our episodes.
Wow.
On the way here.
did.
So there's some really
We're really
massive
crossing over
crossover
today.
going on, and I lived all of them. So
Wow.
I didn't listen to any of them. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hey, that's probably healthy.
Yeah.
Annie, it's your first time in the studio behind a camera. How do you
It is.
feel?
I was thinking about
or
that.
I should say in front of a camera.
I was thinking about that driving here.
She's
I was
operating
like,
camera.
I'm so used. My podcast isn't a video podcast, so
How's it
Yeah.
feel? It's a little intimidating at first.
I feel starstruck. Honestly,
Well, it kind of
Wow.
feels. Well, it's like you recording here every week, so it's,
Yeah,
you're used to
I
the
sat here
environment.
yesterday.
Because usually when we have guests, they have to take a second and kind of take in all the
Yeah.
things. There's
It's
lots on
it's
the
like
wall. There's
home,
That's
but
true.
it's just, it's
Yeah,
a
it's
little
got-
different.
it's a little brighter.
Feels
Yeah,
a little
I have
interesting.
I have a deep connection with that alligator figure behind
You and Ryan
Ryan's
both.
head.
Please do not address the alligator.
Don't look at it
I
in
will
the
not
eyes.
talk about the alligator.
Yeah, one day I walked in here and it was gone, and I asked John, I go, "Where's the alligator? What happened to
Well, it's
it?"
funny because
Scary.
separately, without either of you knowing, you both grew a weird problem with the alligator. Like the first time Annie saw it, she's like, this thing's
I don't
giving me
like
weird
that
vibes.
thing.
And then
Well-
the first time Ryan was like, I hate this alligator. And I was like, so the alligator has
Well,
something between you
listen,
two.
Ryan, here's something about
Okay.
this. The first time I really noticed the alligator, I realized that it's an instrument. So I was sitting here just playing it with one of
No,
the
is
pens.
it?
Yeah, it's like
is.
one of those
like those
cricket
frogs.
noises.
The frogs,
you rub
yeah.
you
You-
put something on
there's
the
like a
back. You like a
the-
stick
Annie,
across.
quick
The
question
eyes
before
are
you
where it
continue.
goes
How do you
to-
feel about the grandfather clock in the Albright house? Just offhand.
Yeah,
How do you
I
feel
don't
about
think you've ever even heard
the
it. You
chiming-
don't spend a lot of time in there.
I have beef with all grandfather clocks.
Thank
Oh,
you.
okay.
All of
Thank
them.
you.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize you guys are kind of really
Interesting.
similar.
Two sides of the same coin. Annie, quick question. We're just gonna
Yeah.
hot seat you for a second here. Just blast off with some
Let's
questions.
go.
What are you up to? What's going on? Give us a little taste of the Annie situation.
The
Yes.
Annie experience.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Specifically the Annie experience.
I sell wedding dresses on the side.
Yeah.
That's my
Really?
side gig
Not in any
versus
store.
podcast.
It's usually in an alley.
Just in the alley.
Just like on the side of
you
a
know when
building.
when some people like they
Oh my
open up their
gosh.
trench coat and they have like drugs.
She
I
got
have wedding
dresses.
dresses.
Wow, that's
No,
gotta
that's
be
not true.
a wrinkly mess in there. Yeah.
Wait, so where
A
are
lot
you
of
getting these
steaming.
wedding dresses from?
Other alleys.
Oh, good.
I find
good.
them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in all seriousness, you do sell
I do sell wedding dresses.
Wow.
Fun
okay.
fact, I actually sell wedding dresses before I got hired after, but where Cara bought her wedding dress.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
You didn't get that? Oh, I
yeah.
thought you. I was like, Cara, I'm
And
gonna try
same
to work
place
the
where
day you
Jordan
pick
got
up your
hers.
wedding dress.
Yeah, Jordan got hers.
And fun
too
fact,
there.
this is a
I knew
crossover.
that.
I'm going to shout her out because she listens to this podcast and my podcast, and where my good friend Brinley McBride got her wedding dress.
Well, I know
Wow.
we know Brinley because she watches the show.
Yeah,
we,
she
we
does.
Talk about it.
Wow.
We
So
talked about it
the
before.
reason I got
And Jordan
the job,
doesn't.
Jordan doesn't watch the show.
She
so-
doesn't.
So
She doesn't.
The
Check-
reason I got
check
the
it.
job is because I went with Brinley. A week later, I went with Jordan,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went again, and I made a joke to the manager, and I was like, "You should just hire me. I'm here so often." She goes, "Well, we're hiring."
Whoa.
And there you
Bada
are.
bing, bada boom.
And it's
Okay,
kind
Now I
of,
sell
trying
wedding
to-
dresses in an hour.
As a-
I'm trying
as
to
a
remember
salesperson.
who helped me.
oh,
Because
she
the
knows
lady,
her.
Probably
the
Mark,
lady
right?
who helped me
Somebody
was
not helpful,
so fun.
Oh, really?
And I can't remember
I
her
think you're
name.
gonna say so often.
I'll
I was
look it
like,
up. We
this
have it
is
all in
gonna
the
be
system.
awkward.
She was so fun.
Let's see, fun.
Well, and
No,
it's
don't
kind
have
of
anyone
She's not
like
here.
that.
It's probably
Well-
Sarah. Sarah was a lot of fun.
And
No, it's not
honestly, it's and you said it before off air, of course, that it's kind of like the best and worst thing because now Jordan knows you work there.
Yeah.
And if you know Jordan, like
Oh,
anything about
yeah.
the wedding, she's like kind of obsessive over. I think all brides get that way at some point. And
No,
she
brides are the best.
All brides or all brights?
all brides.
Oh, yeah.
I missed
And
it.
she continually texts you about it. She's like, "How's my dress?" And you're like,
Yeah.
"It's the
I have-
same."
I'm not
she
gonna
got
lie.
it.
I've
got
gone.
and
I've-
did you sell Jordan her dress?
no, but
no,
I was
before-
there when she got it.
Wait, so when are you
I'm-
working
She,
there?
can,
understand.
she has
And then
access
you-
to it.
And then you
Because
said
my dress fitting
Cara-
is on Thursday.
I will be there Thursday.
My dress fitting is Thursday.
I know, and I'll see you.
Kara's, microphone down a little bit.
Again, oh my god!
I'm sorry.
It's a
No,
little bit
Cara,
RIP headphone users. Maybe it's just me
Now
too.
that
if
you
could turn
understand
my
everything,
headset down. a little bit.
Cara, I'm gonna try to be the person that helps you on Thursday.
11:30.
Look at that. Boom.
11:30.
Interesting. Okay, so how does that work? You work on commission. You're trying to
And-
upsell
and
people on
hourly.
dresses.
We both.
great.
So we have hourly and commission. So I don't really care about the commission. I mean, that's fun. I did
You're in it
wedding
for the heart and
planning
soul of it.
before.
I would assume you do when you sell a wedding dress. You're like, oh yeah, no, I love that commission. But
yeah, the
I mean-
commission is great when you get it. I imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure.
I feel like,
Yeah.
and that shop is like, you're gonna get a wedding dress when you go there.
oh yeah,
Well,
It's so
yeah.
pretty.
Nice stuff.
I didn't know that.
It's nice. It's nice.
All like it's just like the perfect dresses at that shop. Shout out to you, Love Bridal.
Love bridal. Give a
what's
hand,
something?
huh?
Okay, so how long have you been working there?
So about like 6 months now,
Okay.
which is crazy because
You
I
love it.
usually
Totally.
for a while I would lie to brides. No offense to any of my brides listening, because
And
they'd be
taken.
like, "How long you worked there?" I can't say like a week and a half.
You're
Yeah.
like,
Please
10
trust
years.
my opinions on wedding dresses.
Totally.
And so I'd be like, "Oh, like 6 months," and so I've just been lying since
She's
then.
been
Now
six
you're
months.
really
Now
there.
it's really like 6 months. I'm
Wow.
like, how
Now
long
that
have you
lie
worked here? 3
becomes
years.
truth.
Yep. No.
Tell you what. So what's
gotta up
something
it.
you've learned working with selling wedding dresses? What's like something that people, the seedy underbelly of the business,
You love that
Oh
phrase.
gosh.
seedy underbelly? Of course.
I love it too. It's good.
I signed an NDA, so I really can't disclose too
Oh.
much
Dang.
seediness.
Well,
But
there you
here,
go.
I'll say a seedy
Did you
underbelly.
really sign an NDA?
Oh yeah,
No, you didn't.
I did.
You liar.
No, this. Yep, I can't say much,
Wait,
but
can't-
no.
You know
Well,
what?
isn't
that
there
actually-
certain things
that
where
makes
it's like
sense.
a family or like if
Well-
someone's asking you like what the dress is?
let me
it's
just
like
say
you
this
can't-
in a very vague way.
Or like how
The
much?
head of Love Bridal has a lot of say in the wedding industry.
Oh,
Interesting.
yeah, I know what you're referring to, and yeah,
That
it's probably
kind of
good that
thing.
you don't
Cool.
say that. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Not that it would ever come to anything, but probably good.
Yeah, you know, legal reasons, courtrooms,
It's
and
funny.
whatnot.
We like so. I don't even remember how we know this person, but this person works at Nordstrom, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was going to go get a job at Neiman Marcus, but they made them same kind of thing. Like they made them sign a NDA, like oh, you can't share like
Secrets.
Or, like-
company secrets or like
or
company
even like
information.
sales tactics.
Totally. Like you can't.
Super-
Yeah. Hey, you're gonna go work over there. Oh, that's sign this. Like
Yeah.
in case you even go get a job somewhere else.
It's-
Crazy.
Kind of crazy.
Interesting.
It's kind of crazy. I think retail in general has a seedy underbelly.
Oh yeah.
That,
Well, it's all
Oh,
about like
1,000%.
Oh, yeah.
you got to come here instead of there, right?
well,
It's funny too because I feel like brands rip each other off all the time.
Yes.
It's not like a huge
Honestly,
legal battle,
yes.
but-
it's just so funny, especially wedding dresses, right? So there's
Yeah.
like the couture wedding dresses, and Love Bridal is very reasonably priced when it comes to wedding dresses.
yeah.
I mean, even San Diego alone, it's more expensive just because
Yeah.
it's a major international city. And so an average price wedding
Southern
dress,
California, totally.
in Southern California is going to be like $5,000. That's
Jeez.
like average, cost.
Cara?
Ours is
much
ours are
did
less than
Jordan's
that.
spend?
No, Love
Less than
Bridal.
that.
It's like I went on
Our
a sample
average-
sale day too,
Ours
and it
are,
was
Wait,
real connection
You
going
say
on.
it.
Are you going to share that with the
our
world?
average is 2.
Really?
And if you have less than that, we can make that work. We will figure that
Okay.
out.
In my head,
He's like, oh, gosh,
I know.
thank you.
In my head, when I think of wedding dresses, maybe this is like how detached
it's
I am.
'cause of Say
I'm
Yes to
like,
the Dress.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
gotta be
yeah.
like that's
It's
all because of that
gotta be what
show.
it is. I'm
And
like,
also,
yeah, that's a
let me
$10,000
just
dress
say,
right there.
and
That's a
Since
15,000
Cara has
or-
been inside
I know it.
inside the
I've seen it.
store, Say Yes to the Dress's actual store. I'm coming for you, Kleinfelds. Looks horrible.
it
Wow.
does. It
Horrible.
does.
I look at our store, and I mean, comparative to them, we
Yeah.
have cheap dresses. Like
Yeah.
that's the
Sure.
reality. Or our dresses are cheap by far compared
Just
to like a
technically,
15,000.
not like like this place is cheap, but just like
like money
the
wise,
materials and the everything.
And I look at their store, like especially now, I'll pop up like little clips, and I'm like, you guys
Trash.
get it together. This looks hideous.
Trash.
Dang.
Yep.
Trash.
She also signed a. She has to trash talk. Say yes to the dress
Has a
anytime.
line.
Yeah,
Kleinfeld.
she actually loves Free After This, but she hates it now.
Yeah.
I feel like I could never work at a wedding dress shop just because when I feel like I'd just be crying every day.
Listen, so there's a
be
TikTok. I know
crying?
you
Just
guys
because it's so
have you guys-
beautiful and romantic, like that kind of
Yes.
thing.
Oh.
Okay.
No, maybe you have to be hard
Annie's
and
got,
like,
yeah.
nope,
Annie's,
hideous.
And he's like,
not
first you
that
need
way.
a soul to.
Well, because I think of like my reaction when I tried on the
Right.
dress,
Yeah.
and it's like the lady who was helping me, she started crying too. So I was like, I knew that would be me if I was
You
the
don't
one.
I
cry
cried.
often, but is it
I
normal?
cried
Fake.
once. I know
And
if you
that-
don't cry
you
or
sold
don't
one
get
dress. Is that
it. The one dress I've sold.
You sell it every
Nice.
time when you cry.
every time you cry, you sell that dress?
Well, I only put them in that one dress. I cried. They cried.
the most expensive one, you're like, oh,
And cut the check.
It's so good. It's only
Take
$2,000.
my
over your
10%
budget.
now. Thank you.
that's funny.
But if they don't cry, or if someone in their group doesn't cry,
It's not
9
the
times
one.
out of 10, it's not the one.
Yeah.
Really?
That's what
So
I found.
more often than not, everybody's crying, and that's the one.
Well, it's especially her. We do this thing. I don't know if your person did it with you, where we have this like walk that they can do, where they see themselves
She
at
did
the
it.
mirror, and
Wow.
it's like what
did
the
that in
groom
2
is gonna
dresses.
see. Yeah, so
I
we
did it
usually
in
do it
2.
with our
And
favorites.
it was the second one.
And
No,
I
it was
always
the first one.
So it was.
He's trying to
So
determine.
I'm
doesn't
just
matter. What
analyzing. No,
order?
no, but like, could you not recreate
Well,
the
for me,
first
it was-
feeling, or was it like, no? This
I
doesn't
tried
feel-
on the
oh, yes,
very
it does.
first dress,
Okay.
and then I was like,
That might be it.
I know, like I had already gotten like kind of teary, but I had so many more to try on.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
tried them
Yeah,
on,
yeah,
and then at the end, I put it back on and did the walk, and that's
Yeah.
when it was.
So
Was
can
it
I
the
tell
first
you a
time or the
secret?
second
Wow.
walk? First walk or second walk was your one?
The first walk was a
usually try to
dress
save the
that I
walk for
didn't go
favorites.
with, that I loved.
so the
but I
second was
didn't
like
go
the
with it.
finale. You're like, I,
Oh, it was the finale.
Wow,
So-
that's so
Yeah.
exciting.
it sounds exciting. I'm
Right,
kind of pissed I
right.
missed it.
Well,
I
so
went in the
can I
men's
tell you a
warehouse
secret?
and I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
looks
take
good.
that one. Great. There's your
That's
measurements.
true.
and
Actually,
we'll see you later.
I picked it out.
Go ahead, Annie.
Kara's
Sorry.
like, no. I said we'll take that one.
Yeah.
Tell us the secret.
As stylists, we try. At least I do. I try to make the first dress you put on the one I think you're gonna buy.
Really?
Because-
and how often are you like? What's your stats? Is that
On
what would you
average,
say?
so I take about. Let's just say we're just gonna generalize it. I take about 10 appointments a week. So let's say that.
Whoa.
I would say at least 4 out of the 10. The first dress I put them in is what they go
That's
with.
the one.
Wow. That's
It's like
pretty
you gotta
good.
say like 4 out of 10. First one I put them in is the one they go
Yeah.
with.
Especially
2
because
of
they're
them don't
strangers.
find
You don't
it.
know these girls. You just
Yeah.
literally walk in the door. So
2 of them don't find it, and 3 are like a surprise. They choose
that
something I wouldn't
happens?
Do you
expect.
think you can judge like, oh, they want this kind of like, is it what they want, or oh, you'll
Never.
look good
Oh
in
my
this
gosh.
in
Here's-
this kind of cut or something?
So we like I
don't know
can
how
look
it
at
works.
now it's kind of weird. I
You
I
sounded
can look
great,
at
though.
Cara and I can guess her measurements.
Yeah.
And like
Whoa.
I can look at her and be like, she's gonna look better in this
Oh,
kind
the
of dress.
girl
or
who was
this-
with me, she was
Wow.
like, "This is your size, right?" And I was like,
I sure
She's
wasn't
like,
Annie.
Oh, how'd you know?
I had a
Annie,
mask.
but like,
I
yeah,
had a mask
wearing
with
a disguise.
I had a
Wearing
mask
a-
with your
a
Jeffrey
really
Bezos
awful
mask.
disguise.
"Oh gosh, scary."
So
Like,
you're
are
the
you saying
pro.
yes
So
to the
6
dress?
months in, and you're the pro already. That's kind of awesome.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it because I was doing wedding coordinating before.
Yeah.
And as 3 people, as 3 people getting married,
Yes.
two to each other
We're
and one to someone
swingers.
else.
We are swingers.
All three of us are getting married. Thank you for finally saying it on the podcast.
Yep. Not like all three of us, but like me and Cara are getting married.
Yeah.
Cara and John are
Yes.
getting married.
Yeah.
And
Me and
then
John are getting
It's,
married.
it's
John
reverse
and I.
polygamy.
the
It's
most exciting wedding of the bunch.
It's like nobody
us.
can share, but everybody is involved. Yes,
Yes, exactly.
Go ahead, Annie.
Best. I love it.
As
But
people getting married,
you'll know that it's stressful. And so as a wedding coordinator, you have to deal with all the stressful parts.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like I like helping people have the best day of
Yeah.
their life. And so as much as I love, like I was the florist for a while for a couple weddings.
Yeah.
I did wedding coordinating.
You were a coordinator and a florist for one.
For one wedding, yeah. Oh, man,
And I was
that
the
wedding.
DJ on that. So between
that
the two of us,
Interesting.
we really got it done.
Oh, yeah.
That's quite a
Tell
wedding.
you what.
And what I've noticed is selling wedding dresses is the most fun out of all of it because you don't have to deal with any of the bad parts.
Yeah.
All you have to do is make the mom who's being rude to her daughter or the grandma who doesn't like anything.
Like,
You just have to basically get in between the bride and her.
Can you tell us a horror story of like somebody that was in the group that kind of ruined the experience for the bride?
My first week.
First week.
wow.
My first week, this bride, you get a really interesting view because you're in the dressing room. You see them in the dress the first time. You see the moment where they get, like, they're in, Cara can say this.
themselves.
The dressing
Loving
room, the lighting in the dressing room is awful, and you're, like, this
Sure.
close to a mirror. So if you like the dress in the dressing room, that says something.
You're stoked. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you go out, and we have, like, you're on a pedestal. You have this, like, way better
Giant
lighting.
mirror in front of you.
Mirrors everywhere, so you can see every angle.
And the lights can
everything.
be dimmed or raised.
So you can
That's
see
beautiful.
the sparkles. It's really. Kara's like, so I'd like to
Kara's
try on
gonna
a
cry
couple
now.
It's
more
like
dresses.
I'm gonna get another wedding.
I tried
dress.
on one dress that was like all sparkles.
Yeah.
Didn't go with it. But the way that it was built was that in regular lighting you couldn't really see the sparkles, but then they like dimmed it a little bit and all the sparkles came out. I was like,
That's a clear sequin for you people out there wondering what that
Typical
looks
clear
like.
sequin, I'll tell you that much.
wow.
Or a white sequin, either
Some
one
things
does
you
the
learn in the
trick.
business. The first
Yeah,
being
just-
the clear sequin.
Clear sequin.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go
But
ahead.
I'm walking. You hear this bride, and I wasn't even the consultant. Hear this bride in the dressing room with her consultant. She's like, "Oh man, I love it. This is my favorite dress." Like, about to cry, and she goes, "Okay." The consultant like, "Let's go get you out there in the pedestal." Walks out. Automatically, you hear the mom so loud go, "You look like a slut."
No way.
So loud, and we're all like, the rest of the style.
That is so.
Oh my god.
The rest of the stylists are in the back, and you see our boss just go,
Oh my gosh.
and she's this like small Irish woman. So when she gets embarrassed, it's like bad. You're like, oh my gosh, that made her blush. Like what?
Yeah.
And it was so
Oh,
loud,
that
and it was
sucks
like
for
with
her.
that slight Jersey accent, you'll look like a slut.
Oh
just
my
like
gosh.
Oh my god.
Oh, there were a
Take
couple.
that off.
There were a couple dresses that I came out, and immediately my mom was like, "No."
Really?
But then I have the opposite,
Oh,
where
yeah.
I had one. We have one dress where it's like side cutouts, low back to the point where you can't wear underwear because no matter what
Yeah.
underwear you wear,
You're
it'll
seeing
stay
it.
in it. And then like it's like a low cut front, the whole back is clear. And I had one grandma go, too conservative. And then I put her in one that's completely see through on the top with just like lace.
Yeah, baby.
And she goes, "Can you remove some of the appliques? It's too much lace."
Wow.
I'm like, Grandma,
It's like,
Grandma.
Get naked.
Grandma, what?
Get
What's your,
naked.
what's your goal here?
Now you look like a slut.
Oh my
I cannot
gosh.
believe that. So there's got to be a lot of awkward
Oh,
situations.
well, here, and what I've noticed, and it's like a relationship thing, right? So if moms and daughters aren't really close, usually the mom is horrible during the wedding dress shopping because she's trying to prove to whoever, not even to the daughter,
Just anyone.
but to anyone else who's there,
She knows everything.
that she knows the daughter. Me and the daughter
That's
are close.
rough.
She's like, she doesn't like that. She likes this, and the mom and the daughter's like, "Mom, I trust her."
Yeah,
Don't-
that is. I mean, that is one of those things that's like a family milestone, right? Like, oh, you go with your mother or your mother-in-law or whatever.
It's
Yeah.
like tradition.
Totally, and
Which-
and you
'cause
see
Jordan-
like the family come out like that.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, whatever the dynamic is, like the weirdness.
You're absolutely correct because Jordan went shopping and she was going to take like her mom and her
Sure.
grandma and she took Annie and my sister. And my
Well, I was a
sister-in-law.
last minute add to that.
Well, yeah, but then
Whoa.
I was like, my mom's not going to want to go. Like my mom doesn't. She's just not the girly girl type. She doesn't wear makeup. I'm like, she's not going to want to go.
But in that moment,
But then Jordan asked her because Jordan's like, I'm just gonna ask her. And Mom's like, yeah, I want to be there.
Yeah.
of course she does.
And Jordan's like, okay. I mean, Jordan was much nicer than me because I was like, there's no way. I was like, Mom, why do you want to go to this? Like you're not that kind of person. And she's like, I'm not gonna miss it. And I'm like, I guess that makes sense.
Heck
You're right.
yeah. Oh
When
my
I think
gosh.
Jordan had a private.
Yeah, so there was a
Yeah.
while where which is interesting, and it's funny because one stylist, I came kind of like nearing the quote unquote end of COVID, since we're still in it. Mm-hmm. But so we used to have like, you could only bring one person. So with Brindley, it was at that point you could bring two people. Yeah. So she had to make 2 appointments so she could bring her mother-in-law and her mom. Oh. And then, I'm co-maid of honors with her sister. And then we went to a separate appointment where she actually said yes to the dress. Oh. So that we could all see them.
Oh, ouch.
So mine.
Weird.
It was, you can either like rent the showroom for like an hour, so the whole store. Which in COVID, right? That was the best thing.
And you could get five.
You can get five people. And then the rest was just like, you're with like the 3 other groups of people that are already in there.
Yeah.
And mine, it was you could only bring 2.
Yeah.
But then since Emma and Olivia were with us anyways, they were like, yeah, come on in. They let us.
Were you guys wearing masks?
Yeah.
When was this?
I had to wear masks trying it on.
Ooh.
Yeah. Uh-huh. It's still hard.
Take away the magic
but she,
a little bit?
I mean, I got up on like the pedestal and she was like, take your mask off.
We think of it, the way I kind of think of it is like, if the bride's on the pedestal, it's like sitting at a table at a restaurant.
Sure.
So it's like, you're not, I'm going to stand far enough
It's
away.
just about you and the bride, not,
Yeah, because I mean, like, I look at people's butt cracks all day at work.
Sure.
Like, that's the reality is I'm helping people get dressed.
I always say,
up, yeah. I don't know if you guys with this podcast know anything about TikTok.
Oh, no.
Heard of it.
Know nothing about it.
But there's a TikTok that's like poorly explain what you do for work. And I was like, I help people get dressed and then I make them cry. Because, like, I put them in wedding dresses and then they cry. And that's good.
Wow. That was really good.
Yeah.
You're really good at TikTok.
Thank you.
It's kind of weird.
I feel like the hardest part about your job would be like the cinching of the dresses. Because because like a bunch of ones that I had, like the only sizes they had were way, way too big.
Listen, I can make any dress
so
fit
she has
anyone
to,
now.
They cinch them and put the giant like chip clips.
Yeah, they're giant. They're like they're industrial clips.
No.
Yes.
They're chip clips.
Industrial chip.
You know when you roll up your chips?
It's like the bright colored ones.
It's a chip, and it says chip clip on the side.
And they're like, are these?
Are you saying
like,
yes to the dress? The chip clips come with it.
The chip clip.
It's a gigantic
But
bag of
literally,
Doritos.
the girl who was helping me, she would like cinch it so tight, and I was like, "How are you doing this?"
Oh my god!
Listen, there's to the point. I tell Brad every day. I go, if you can't breathe, please let me know. Because I've had times where I just get so excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at your waist in this dress. And you're like clipping them in. And then they're on the pedestal. And they say nothing. They say nothing because they're so...
It's killing me.
They're so nervous. And they they think that they're going to insult you. And then you get out there and they're like, how do you feel in it? And then in front of everyone, they go, well, I can't breathe. I was like... Why wouldn't you tell me that, dude? Like,
she's like, 'cause I couldn't breathe.
I'm
help a little
torturing
bit.
you. Like, jeez.
Wow. Okay, so you're a wedding dress salesperson by day.
Thank you.
And by night,
you
podcast.
Yeah.
You're a podcaster.
What else do you do? Because obviously, anyone listening right now, stop what you're doing. Go pop over to Growing Pains with Annie.
It'll be link will be in the bio.
Binge it and then come back
And then come back, yes.
Right
now.
this moment.
Right now.
Right here.
Welcome back.
So now that we've gone through your whole discography on podcasting, what else do you do?
I'm currently in my last semester of my senior year of college.
School.
Yeah.
She's in school. She's a
Where do you go?
student.
I go to Liberty Online. So, fun fact, I did online school before it was cool with COVID. I was living in Mexico. Well, I was living in Hawaii.
Can we honestly say it's cool now?
No, we can't. No, we can't say it's cool.
But okay. Yes, you were. Yes, so you were living in Hawaii.
I was living in Hawaii. I had
You've
agreed.
lived quite a life.
I've lived quite a life.
Which we know because we've listened to your podcast.
Yeah, I know. A lot of your traveling experiences is on your podcast.
It's on my podcast. Yeah, I've had a lot of people from my experiences too.
Yeah, crazy.
So cool.
So you were in Hawaii, sorry.
So I was in Hawaii, and I had promised my parents before I moved there. I took a year off of school to do this internship in Hawaii, and I was like, don't worry, Mom and Dad. 1 year, I'll pop back into school.
No problem.
And then all of a sudden, when you're like not doing school and you're in like a beautiful place, you go,
I said that same statement probably 3 years ago. So.
Yeah, you're like, don't worry, Mom and Dad, 1 year, that's it.
Give
and then
me
I was
1
like,
year.
shoot,
not so much.
I do want to go back to school, but I don't want to go back to school. Because at that point, like, when, you know,
You're so far beyond that. You're like...
When I was, like, taking lunches on the beaches of Hawaii, I was like, I don't want to take lunch in the library of some, like, or a dorm room.
How much better could life get? Like, this is it. Like...
Yeah. So, well, then I moved to Mexico. And so right before I moved to Mexico, I was like, ooh, I probably should figure out that school situation.
I did say a year.
I did say a year, and I did promise.
What's the clock on that, huh?
Yikes. And so I found the cheapest that my money could get me.
Sure.
Or that I could get into.
Yeah.
For school, and I went with the online school, and then it was perfect because I was living abroad, and then I came back for a wedding, and then COVID happened. I literally got stuck
Tell
here.
you what.
And look at me now.
Could you imagine being
true.
stuck in Mexico though? That would've
I
been kinda
I had a
scary,
friend
right?
who was on my podcast before, Annika. Shout out Annika. And we were both working with the family down in Mexico, and I had come back from my sister's bachelorette party and wedding, and then everything got canceled.
Yeah.
Her wedding got canceled 2 weeks before.
Oh, God.
Because
Wow.
of COVID.
All of the nonsense.
Her
Oh.
venue called and was like, we're canceling all March venues, like events, sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Can you imagine that?
My worst nightmare.
So, but
Yeah.
Annika was still
But
in
she was still
Mexico.
down there, so I called her. And I mean, in Mexico, I had heard nothing about coronavirus.
Yeah,
I literally
sure.
hadn't even heard the word coronavirus until the day I moved back to
Wow.
the United
What
States.
day was that? Like time range? Because we know it started
March
in
5th. March
Wow.
5th.
Literally.
Right
My
before.
sister,
The
my
drop zone.
sister's March 5th. My sister's bachelorette was March 7th, and her wedding was supposed to be the 22nd.
Because really, I remember hearing about it like
January.
roughly in like December, January.
Yeah.
It was
I
like,
don't know.
oh,
Yeah.
I didn't hear about it at all.
I remember
Nothing.
January was starting to be like,
it was
everyone's
just like a
getting
thing.
sick
oh,
in
yeah.
China.
Like China is like really
Yeah.
going through like a big
Yeah.
outbreak right now.
Yeah, and so I called Annika
Yeah.
and I said, "Yo, dude, so that coronavirus thing,
Sorry.
it's kind of getting intense. You might want to look at coming back because she's from San Diego. We'd both met in Maui, but then we both happened to just have grown up in
Yeah.
San Diego, so her family was here.
Yes.
And she goes, "What?" I go, "Yeah, you just might just call your parents. You might want to be there because she was supposed to be there another 3 months."
Wow.
Whoa.
She called me back. She goes, "I have a 7 a.m. flight for tomorrow, and it was the last ticket on the flight."
Whoa.
She like fled Mexico.
Imagine.
Flee.
Wow. Hey, that's a good friend to be like, hey, you should you should consider
Yeah.
getting
Coming
the F out of
home.
there.
Yeah, and no, fun fact.
Crazy.
She's now, her wedding is in December, and she's marrying a friend of ours from down there. She's getting married to this guy down in Mexico.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. It worked
How
out for
crazy.
her. She went
Wow.
back after everything kind of calmed down, and
Sure.
I guess it worked out.
That's crazy. I mean, like Mexico seems nice, but and you really wouldn't have known what you know now back then. But
course.
to think about being stuck there for how long?
Oh.
A year and a half?
Yeah.
Like, you really couldn't travel
And that's
for a long
that's
time.
what I'm saying. Like the wherewithal to be like, yeah, maybe you should like come home and batten down the hatches a little bit.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And it's like it was such a random thing. Like I will never forget the week before my sister's wedding, being like, or no, the 2 weeks before, I was
Yeah.
like, it's not gonna get canceled. They're not gonna do that. That's stupid. Like stop complaining about it. You're fine. And then the venue called, and she called in hysterics, and I was like, maybe this is
Interesting.
serious.
So did her wedding happen?
So she ended up having a backyard wedding. I don't remember when. I was there.
I was
It
there.
was sometime between March of last year
And
and
More of a
now.
ballpark.
It wasn't yesterday,
It
so it
was
was before
sometime
that.
around then. Yes, it was Mother's Day of last year.
Oh, that actually
That's-
gives you a pretty good
Yeah.
timeline.
So
It was in
whenever,
May.
whenever that was,
May.
that's when it was.
That's kind of
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that kind of when things started?
No,
so it was a
calming
couple months
down?
after.
not
so
even a little bit.
The reason
but
they did it, they were gonna have
nice thought.
they
Nice
re-
thought.
Well, there
They
was like a
rescheduled
lull
it for December.
in between, but
Well, it
Yeah.
was the beginning of the lull, and so then they were like, but when it was, things were starting to kind of pick
Oh.
up. But they were like,
Yeah.
flu
Yeah, I
season's
remember
coming
that
up in
time.
December, and you never know what's going to happen. Flu season's coming up, and they had rescheduled for December because everyone was like, oh, by December we'll be done. No, don't worry. And then they just got scared, and they were like, forget it. We're going to get married.
Anyone
Yeah.
else like really pissed off
Just in general.
In general?
in general? Because I feel like for a long time, and in the time that we're talking about, that summer of 2020, for the longest time it was like that vaccine's going to come out and everything's going to go back to normal.
yeah,
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
it came out, and here it is, and now it's FDA approved.
This kind of leads
and-
perfectly into our
And
next topic.
everybody,
Yeah.
well, I'm a podcaster.
Oh,
John.
yeah.
do.
Sorry.
It was planned, John. It
And
just
now,
called
and
out.
now it's like the goalpost got moved for
Yeah.
like everybody's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
What
well, I
goalpost?
don't know.
They got rid of it.
They
We started
ditched
playing
the
a different
goalpost.
game.
We're playing
Yep.
lacrosse or something. I don't know.
It's interesting because it's a different kind of weird now. Like back then, it was like unknown, scary. Like people were dying at alarming rates, and now it's like shifting into
Everything's-
we're in vaccine.
But really, I mean, I was
But then
going to
we're
say
in
everything's
variant world,
known
too.
now.
Yeah.
We have a lot of information. We have new information. I can't say we have all the information, but
Yeah.
there's now a lot of new information.
True.
And, you know, to the point that we were making last week, it's like everybody is suddenly the expert, you know, on everything vaccine. And every conversation you
Yeah.
have is like, well, this, you know, now they're saying this. And now they're saying, you know, you can still get it. And everybody's going to need a booster shot. And now it's going to need, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, now,
And now it's here.
what?
It's
Like,
here forever.
But
Yeah.
what is?
Isn't that crazy?
The Delta
It's like-
variant,
it's never gonna go
The Gamma
away.
variant.
It's going to be like the flu. It's never going to
Omega
go away.
variant.
Yeah,
Oh
you
yeah,
always
for
have to
sure.
get a
I mean, it's
booster
always
shot.
it'll probably mutate a couple of times and then
Sure.
like plateau, and then it becomes like a flu shot. I mean, and also like honestly, kind of like. What's the one that we get when you're babies? It's the chickenpox
Measles?
booster. Chickenpox
Zika
booster.
virus.
There's a ton you get when you're
Yeah,
baby.
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but and so it's going to become one of those things. I'm sure, and we'll get to a level where you're like, you'll get it as a baby, and you'll never have a problem with it. You
Yep.
know? But it's just weird being on the front end of that because growing
Yes.
up, you got chickenpox booster, all that stuff.
It was there for
and
us
it was just
already.
like,
Yeah.
and it was just like one of the things you got, you know, and also to the next point we're moving to, there was a small faction of people who didn't feel comfortable with any of those vaccines, and those vaccines had been around for like years and years and years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
And so now we're in this debate where we're in the front end of a brand new vaccine, and those people did not go away. I
Yeah.
mean, those people are actually,
Yeah.
I feel like there are more and more people coming out feeling like saying that they're uncomfortable because, you know, we're in the beginning stages of a brand new vaccine. And vaccines are, I mean, they're great. I mean, they do a lot of good. I mean, they've helped eliminate a lot of really nasty things.
Yep.
Sure.
But we are also in like the first, still would say we're in the
Formative
still
stages.
first year of this
Sure.
vaccine.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of concern and the long-term effects, all that stuff, right? And so that's where I was talking to you guys a little bit earlier, if it's okay if I transition.
You may.
That, you know, there's a lot of conversation that I've seen on social media, and in the last week, I've had a lot of conversation with my coworkers and some of my family members about workplaces requiring the vaccine. And it's a slippery slope for me. And,
Go ahead.
And here's why. I think I got vaccinated, and I'll continue to get vaccinated because I believe in the science. You know what I'm saying? And I believe that that's really how you kind of eradicate things like coronavirus, right?
Yes.
But on the flip side of it, I'm like, I still believe in people's right to choose. Just like anybody in here would probably agree that, like, you know, as a human in the United States, one of the better things about the United States, in all of its flaws, as we know in the last year, is that you get to choose what you want to do. You know, it's kind of the best place to live, really.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go out, and if you work hard enough, you can become a billionaire and whatever, right? If that's what you want, right? And so that's where I'm like conflicted because I agree with the science and I'll always get vaccinated. But the moment that the government and workplaces start saying you can't work here because unless you get a vaccine, I'm uncomfortable with that because I just feel like, you know, that's pushing us into a really dangerous zone because if you give that kind of power to workplaces and honestly probably the government as a whole, what's next? You know, and I'm not.
Yeah.
And maybe on the slippery slope.
Well,
argument.
I think any employer has the right to say, if you're going to work for me, you gotta do what I say.
Private
Just
employers.
the same thing,
Like TV and all that.
And you know, so maybe if you have a government job, that's a little bit different. But you got to think about like the intention behind any of it too. Is like,
Yeah.
well, why are you required to get the vaccine?
Yeah.
Because in my mind, it is that still that shred of like, oh, okay, because it's a work back towards normalcy. It's a eliminating, you know, possibilities of somebody getting really sick. Like
I think it's
on
also
government time. You know,
for the company. So like Starbucks, if an employee gets
Yeah, you guys
gets
getting-
COVID, the store has to shut down
Yeah.
and hire a third
Yeah.
party cleaning company
Sure.
to come in and clean
pretty gnarly.
everything.
Yeah.
And then the people that were worked with have to quarantine.
now and
them.
obviously we're a company like Starbucks is basing their information on just the same as you and I, like from
Public
the
knowledge.
news and from like, okay,
Yeah.
what the CDC is recommending. And, you know, some analyst somewhere at Starbucks was like, yeah, if this happens to eliminate, you know, all of your employees on the West Coast getting it, like you should all get vaccinated or something. Like,
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
know what that looks like
Yeah.
necessarily, but I think, I don't know, you know, I don't know how I feel about it.
What are your thoughts?
I think, like I said, I think it's definitely in the, like the ball is in the court of the employee or like the employer. Like if
Yeah.
you want to do that, that's all good. If you don't want, and to the same right, like if you're an employee, you get to choose like, hey, this is what, Starbucks is requiring me to, wear closed-toed shoes and a shirt every time I go to work. I don't want to do that, so I'm not going to go work there.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the same thing, but
No, I agree.
I don't know.
I think you can look at it through different lenses. Like, I think often a lot of people our age have the tendency of being like, oh, we're suffering through so much during, our lives are so hard.
Yeah.
Well, they are.
But then you
so-
look at World War II and everyone was rationed. Like, your food was literally
yeah.
rationed. And everyone just kind of shut up and was like, okay, the government says I can only have this much food to feed my family. Okay. And I'm sure people were pissed about it then too.
Yeah.
And the whole idea then was like, oh, well, we're doing it for justice and for the greater good and saving people's lives.
Of course.
And I think there's an element of, well, then what about this? And I think the thing that scares people is like the needle and the injector, like what is the science going into it?
Yeah.
And you know what? There's so much I don't know about I'm going to
of
say
that.
all medical practice.
Same.
I know basically nothing.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
like for me to be like, well, it's only been around a couple of months. Like, how do I know? Like, it wasn't rushed or something. Like, I don't.
We don't know.
Jack.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
So and maybe that's a cop out. Maybe I'm like,
Yeah.
obviously anyone can go study
Yeah.
science.
So you say that? I don't know. I feel like
And
I
the-
could study
and-
for years and still be like, I don't know what
And
to do.
and the I often try to see the other side of it, because like being
I
totally
hear-
candid,
I hear where
my
you're coming
response is out of like just like, hey, I don't know. I mean,
Well, and it's the I don't want the government to interfere with my
force me to do this.
personal
Sure.
affairs.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's like, you go to public school, you got to get, vaccine.
You have to get the
Well, I
vaccine.
heard a really
Yeah.
funny take about the vaccine because a comedian, Bill Burr, you know.
I saw the same
Oh,
clip
okay.
about the sheeple.
Yeah, and he was
I love it.
kind of he explained it in an interesting way. It although it was a comedic, version,
Yeah.
it's got a lot of logic to it. It's like, if the government was trying to, like, let's just say, make the human race or whatever sterile or trying to kill people with this, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why would they kill the people that are compliant?
Right.
The only people that are going to get the vaccine are the people that are going to what?
That are
Can't
doing
have
what the
kids?
government
You know what I'm
says.
saying? So they're going to let all the, like,
Rebellious
unruly
people.
anti-vaxxers have babies and, like, live or whatever.
Totally,
whatever
and not die, yeah.
It's like,
I love it.
and it's true because, like, that does give a perspective of, like, yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Like this vaccine is probably. I mean, again, I fully agree with it, but I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
if I was
Like
thinking
if
the alternative
the
perspective.
deep state is real, like
Yeah.
they're not going to vaccine away
Yeah.
like the people
Yeah.
that are compliant to the government.
yeah,
You're
and
right.
I,
Like,
and I
then
think
it-
there's a lot of there. Yeah.
It goes circling back to like the question is, okay, it goes back to the employers because the reality is, for the most part, as of now, the government can't force you to get the vaccine. They can
Yeah.
encourage you to. They can't force you to.
as a citizen, not you
Yeah.
as a government employee, because military's all got to get it.
Yeah, as a government
Yeah, that's
employee.
kinda-
Every
that
person
kinda
so
works
then
at
it
the White
goes.
House.
So now it's
It's a big company.
the power.
Well, no, I'm saying,
it
just think
is.
about, like, if you are in the middle of, like, a military term.
Hey, if you work for the government, you know that.
Listen,
you
if you're in
get
the
government
military,
cheese.
I
there's
know.
like a day when you join the military
just-
that they shoot you up with everything.
But
Yeah.
imagine you being uncomfortable with this. Again, we're not, obviously. We all are
But that's
vaccinated.
what I'm saying. Like, you wouldn't then go like, I'm gonna go work for my country and do what because then
That's
you're
true.
literally obligated
Yeah.
to do what.
A lot of anti-vaxxer conservatives, I feel like, are not.
well,
are in the
they'll be
military.
looking for work pretty soon.
Well, it's like I wonder what. I mean, I imagine you'll get, like, discharged, but like in the middle of a military term, you can't, like, unless there's extenuating circumstances, you can't leave that service. So, like, of
course not.
Is that going to be offered as, like, hey, you don't want to get vaccinated? That's fine, but you can't be in the Navy anymore, or is it going to be like, hey, you're in
Yes.
the Navy
It'd
for
be
the
like
next
you'd have
3
to
years.
swim home.
You have to do it.
Now,
You know?
Oh my gosh.
if you're already in the Navy, you don't care what they're putting in your body because you, like
Yeah.
Annie said, like
There's
that's,
a day
that's
where they-
that's
Yeah.
day one basic training is
They,
like
they,
They
give,
give
you
you
every
stuff.
clean you
shot.
up. They
Pretty gnarly.
All sorts
I
of
didn't
random
know
things.
that. So I guess when
sorry,
anything,
I'm screwing with my mic
Did
stand
that-
here.
did it fall?
Yeah, well, it's starting to kind of slope down a bit. But
Go ahead.
I just keep.
I didn't
messing
know
with
that
it.
when. So like the thing about people saying, "Oh, you need to have this vaccine proof to work here," that was more for like private employers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everything. I didn't know that when anything gets FDA approved, it now becomes public. So anywhere now can say, "You have the vaccine.
Well,
we need
that's-
proof for you to work here because it's FDA approved."
What do you mean?
When
Oh,
something is
interesting.
FDA
Federal.
approved, now it goes from private to
Oh, that's
What would
interesting.
be
like
it?
all companies.
What is that?
It means you.
So companies, you
you're-
have to require it, or
It's
or
like
you
having a
can enforce it.
prescription. So if
Yeah.
they ask you, "Hey, are you on Xanax?" You have to give us your prescription for it. If it's from a doctor, it's like public knowledge. If it's FDA
So private and
approved.
public meaning like a private company. I started a company. I have my employers versus Starbucks, a giant chain.
Oh, so now like
Oh yeah, publicly traded.
but
publicly
Starbucks
traded.
was already. So you're saying a publicly traded
No,
company?
because Starbucks
can
isn't
now,
requiring it.
Oh, but you're saying now they can.
Now they can't.
Because it's a
Starbucks
public
or
thing.
was
Target
doing
or
It's not like your
Best
own
Buy.
personal choice to go
to
get a
avoid,
private
Mervyn's.
thing.
to avoid litigation.
Mervyn's.
Mervyn's.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mervyn's.
Stupid.
For a couple of weeks before we went back to all employees wearing masks all the time. It was
Are you on that right now?
yeah, we went back. There was
Yeah, we
like
went back too.
there was like
Back.
3 weeks of if you fill out this paper, bring in your vaccine card, then every time you come into work, just show us that paper you signed, and you don't have to wear a mask when you work, because that's your proof.
Wow,
Yeah.
And I was
feels
like,
good.
okay, sweet. I don't care. I'll go in. I don't have to wear a mask.
Now who said now you got to put that mask back on? Your manager or your
Starbucks,
or
the whole
Big
company.
Mermaid?
Yeah,
Is-
our
oh,
CEO.
The Big Mermaid.
The Big Mermaid in the sky.
Dang,
That's rough.
So you think they're the Starbucks is on the cusp of requiring vaccines?
I
Tell
think
you
so.
what,
Yeah, I think so.
we've got a lot of concert tickets, and a lot of them have been emailing me, going Live Nation and Ticketmaster, going to go to this show. We're going to see
Proof.
the Jonas Brothers tomorrow. But you got to
Really
have that.
exciting.
You got to have that vaccine card
Yeah.
Proof or a negative
Oh.
test within 72 hours.
within 24 hours. I think.
Which,
You know
and
what?
let me tell you this: there was a moment where I was flying back to Hawaii to visit during COVID, and I had to push my flight back a day because my results didn't come back. Because not only you had to have it within 72 hours,
You had
in
to
the
fill out all
lab-
that stuff.
Oh, you have to fill out everything. You have to wait for it to get shipped to the lab that's extremely far away. Which I'm just like, build more labs.
Yeah.
Come on,
come on, Hawaii.
we've had a year.
Come on.
Build more labs.
Also, we have the internet. I mean,
right?
come on.
Come on. And
back
I,
something up.
I was
Backs it to me.
sitting. I was sitting in the terminal, calling the lab before they opened in hopes that someone just happened to be there. And I was like,
Yep.
email me. I have to email it now because the state of Hawaii changed their regulations, because before it was you just had to quarantine until
Yeah.
you got
Yep.
results, and then they announced that day you have to quarantine if you do not have those results submitted to the state of Hawaii when you board this
Yep.
plane.
Yeah.
I was the last
Rough.
person on the
Wow.
plane. Some very nice woman got my email and happened to come in early to try to help me.
Wow.
my God.
And she was like, it was almost like a 911 call. It was like, Anna, is this you? Okay, just stay with me. I'm getting you the results. I'm getting it to you. And I was like,
Here it
thank
comes.
you so much.
Stay on the line, Anna. Is that
Everyone's
you?
leaving. Everyone's
Don't
leaving.
don't let the plane go.
I know we got
Wow.
lucky when we
Yeah.
went to Hawaii, because it was like 3 weeks before. It was like changed it. If you're fully vaccinated, you just have
Good to
to
go.
do the pre-check, and that's it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, thank God.
Here's what I'll say. You make a great point, and again, I am only voicing things
The
that
others-
that I think are interesting.
Sure.
In the sense that
Oh, I'm with you on that.
Because I mean, it does freak me out a little bit. I mean, the idea that, and I think really it's the timeline. And I know everyone says like it was rushed, whatever. And I'm not trying to like feed into that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying like, I can understand where people feel uncomfortable with getting the vaccine because of the shortened timeline, and then for their job to go within a year of this vaccine coming out, going, if you don't get this vaccine, you're going to lose like
Yeah.
everything you've worked for, like your possible college
Yeah.
degree,
Yeah.
all your years of
Yeah.
experience. Is we're just going to fire you outright, and I just feel like it's a little uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And again, I got the vaccine. I'll continue to get the vaccine.
And to your credit too, is like I'm like I don't think the government should interfere with like what you do medically. Like
Yes.
Yeah, it's your choice.
In term like when it comes to abortion, I'm like okay, I lean more towards like I'm pro-choice, because I think that like the government should F off. Like don't tell me what to do with my body. Like
I'm the same way.
you know what I mean. So
Small
when it
government,
comes to
yeah.
this, albeit it's a different sort of thing, inherently I'm like, well, like you shouldn't force anyone to do anything with their body. Like that's your, if you
Yeah.
have anything, it's your right to your body.
Yeah, and I think in like a couple of years, I mean, maybe even just in a year or two, I think I'll feel more comfortable with this.
Sure.
idea.
Yeah.
Because I'll go,
Yeah.
okay, because you're right. I mean, it is like not flu shots never been required,
Yeah.
but I'm saying it is like all these vaccines, that you have to get to even start working. With the difference is those vaccines have been around for a long time. This one hasn't. So I think that's where like the rubber meets the road for me.
Yeah.
It's like it makes me uncomfortable because everything is just so new, and then to say like. Again, not this isn't my choice, but like then to say to somebody, "Oh, you can't work at the place." Who knows? You know, people work a long time and they work really hard to get where they are.
Yeah.
And then to lose it over something like a vaccine that, again, I believe it's doing good, and like I said, I trust it for myself. But
Yeah.
you know, I feel bad. Like I have coworkers that, you know, have like pretty adamantly on Facebook like said they're not getting it, and Sharp's policy. From what I understand is that by the end of September, like anyone that's not vaccinated is going to get terminated.
Well, and
it's like
I was talking
crazy.
to a friend earlier today, and her mother-in-law and herself both worked at the same company, and they basically asked her mother-in-law if she had gotten vaccinated, and she said no, and I'm not going to for medical reasons and for religious reasons, and they canned her after 20 some odd years at this company.
Whoa.
Well, and my friend was sharing, she goes, on the other side of that, they never asked me. She's like, I'm not vaccinated. They never asked me once. Difference is she's young and white, and her mother-in-law is older and Hispanic. So she was like, I don't.
Shoot.
Yeah.
It's
so
a new way of weeding out older employees
it's
to
an
bring in
element.
new.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, at the corporate level, I'm sure people are going, "This is the way
Now,
we get these
do they
people
work
out."
in different? Do they work in different departments? Is one more
I
like
have
around
no
other
idea.
people? Oh, okay.
Probably.
That's fair.
Maybe.
I mean,
Well,
that would be my only thing.
And I wonder if it's out of concern because, like, as we know about COVID, like elderly people
We're
and
able
like
to
all
get it
these
first
concerns,
and-
they get COVID worse. It's like
Yeah.
more deadly. So I wonder.
So
if
maybe it's like if she
They
got it
probably
at
weren't.
work, it would be a liability for the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If
They were
something had
that's,
happened,
that's more what it is.
you
They're
know.
not looking out for her. They're not going, well, you should.
Yeah.
go get
It's
there."
I know.
if
I
you
had this
die because you work
conversation
here.
Yep.
about HR in companies because when I started at Sharp, I was young and naive.
Feel a
And I
little
was like-
guilty?
I was like, HR is like for us, like they protect us. And then, over the last 6 years at Sharp,
HR is for the company.
I start to realize HR is fully for upper management.
Yep.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
and they come across, and again, this is not to like villainify HR necessarily, but vilify. But
Because every company's got HR, and every company,
so
if they
true.
weren't looking
Yeah.
after their ass, like, they're a bad company.
and it's just so scary because then
Yeah.
you go like, oh no, because of where I am, like I'm pretty low on the totem pole
Sure.
at Sharp,
Yeah.
of course, and I'm like, no one is like if I go to HR, I gotta have
you
something.
could get canned, and you'd never see, you'd never take them to court because they got like a
Yeah.
fleet of lawyers. Or
it's crazy.
Yeah, I've heard stories of people who are like gonna sue companies, and their lawyers are like, you will lose like however many $1 million. Even if you win, you will still lose this many, this much
From
money
just based on
from
fees.
just
the
trying.
time.
You gotta go
Yeah.
in and make you're making
They'll
the
long
point
game
at
it.
that
Have you
point.
ever watched New Girl?
Yeah.
There's a point where Nick Miller, who's like this failed lawyer,
Nick
he
Miller.
goes, you know what a firm's worst nightmare is? A lawyer with one case. I will appeal and appeal and appeal. I will never let this
Well, and
die.
I think also on the flip side, big corporations a lot of times will settle. So I think that's kind of
yeah.
the allure when you sue like a big company. Obviously not like Sharp. Sharp's not even considered big in the world, but
Well, that's
you
like
know,
Disney and Scarlett Johansson. They were like, "Oh, it'll just settle out,
Well, that's a little bit different,
right?" Well, that's kind of the same. How
no,
it's like a big
Millionaires-
company.
That's millionaires suing billionaires.
yeah, I was gonna say that's
Yeah, but then the billionaires are like, "Oh,
trillionaires.
we're gonna settle. She'll settle,"
and she's
she
like,
didn't.
Nope.
Yeah.
good for her though. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Tell
kind of
you what.
sucks. She's also setting a good precedent of like, hey,
can't
this
screw
is not
with
the
me.
first time. This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this is not the
Yeah.
last time it's gonna happen. Is what I
Yeah.
should say. And now actors know when they go into these movies,
Yeah.
they're like, I got to get part of the streaming thing or
Well,
something.
because they made
Yeah.
such a viable thing now is like Disney Plus, and
Well, even
another thing that came out of the pandemic. Tell you what, it was like
back in
they
the
really put Disney
day,
Plus together fast.
Oh,
yeah, they
yeah.
did.
Crazy.
Disney freaks me out. I'm gonna be real. Listen.
We talk about Disney
I
pretty
grew up.
often.
I grew up. I love Disneyland. I grew up on Disneyland. Every birthday we were going to Disneyland.
Yes.
Really? Wow.
The older I've gotten, the more freaked out it makes me.
Really? Why? What elements?
But just how vast,
how big
they
the
are.
company
Yes.
is.
Yeah.
Because
the
it's not
reality is-
it's not even about like Disneyland. It's like
No, it's
Disney as an
Disney.
entity is so
So
They
big.
scary.
You know
own,
my
they own
Disneyland
stock
theory.
in everything.
I'm sorry. What?
You know my Disneyland. I told you about this like a week ago.
What was this?
About how one
Oh,
day Disney's
Disneyland.
going to own the world.
That's
and then
right.
Disney, like the Disney parks will become like our life now. So
The Disney
will
World.
People will go to like Disneyland
But it'll just be
it'll
normal life.
normal life because Disney has now taken over the world.
Yeah.
So
You're the
everything's like Disneyland,
'Cause
and
it's a place to
Disneyland's like
escape.
normal life.
Do you know that
So
you're
we're,
the
like,
most
going-
liberal conservative I've ever met? You know, I'm gonna make a communist of you any day now. It's gonna be
We've
great.
had good conversations about that.
Of course
kind
we
of
have.
stuff, though. You
It's
know,
great.
I'm a little bit of a
It's
on
just
the middle.
It's in the for me. I'm like, remember in the days of monopolies, and then the government was like, oh, no one person should be able to own everything, and then make it so no one can afford anything.
Oh, yeah.
That
And
is Disney.
You know
Disney
who's
owns
changing those
everything.
laws?
Disney.
It's Disney. It's literally, you know, the whole thing where you had to wait 100 years until a character became
They
Public
stopped
domain.
that.
public domain. The people that stopped that was Disney
Bec-
for Mickey Mouse. They're
Because
like, yeah,
Mickey Mouse was
will
like,
never belong
was
to
like
public
93
domain.
Wait,
or
that was a
something.
rule?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like 100 years after the author publishes this thing.
Something that's been, like,
you
copyrighted
you
or,
could
like-
make
Yeah.
a Tom Sawyer movie right now. You could do it because Tom Sawyer is now. It's
It's
been
public
like
domain.
200 years since Mark Twain wrote it. It's public domain.
serious?
Yeah.
Anybody. That's
and
why
Disney stopped it
now
because
that's
Mickey Mouse
why-
was like within a decade of having it happen.
So
All
is
of
that
the
not a
fairy
thing
tales-
anymore at all, or just for Disney?
No,
Oh,
Disney
they
now. So
killed
Disney
it.
went to bat. So, which is also crazy when you think about the fact that Disney built their entire like catalog on these public domain fairy tale stories. They were
Yeah.
recreating Sleeping
Yeah,
Beauty, Cinderella, Snow
famous-
White,
'Cause they were
famously.
horror.
Yes.
yeah, it's Ariel.
Of course. And so, yeah,
Typical.
The Little Mermaid, like literally the entire career is just ripped off
Yeah.
storybooks. And then they make, well, not, and then they also make Mickey Mouse, this character that's like, oh, and it was 100 years after it came out for the first time in like 1919 or something. Not 1919,
Yeah.
but like 1920 something. And it was like, okay, the date was coming up where now the character of Mickey Mouse was going to be public domain. Anyone could make a Mickey Mouse movie. Anyone could make
Wow.
a Mickey Mouse book or whatever.
Yeah, and they couldn't
thing.
sue.
So Disney literally lobbied the government, the U.S. government, to be like, hey, we should change this law because
Scary stuff.
like the,
Because
you know,
they probably use the excuse
Because
of the artist should own it forever.
it should be. It's like
It's like tradition. It's legacy.
and it gets passed on to the family or something like that, or
Yeah.
the company or the trust or something, and they did it, and they won. So now you still can't. You'll probably never be able to make that Mickey Mouse fan fiction you're working on.
Okay, so
Well,
my question
mine's
is
really
that
rough.
only for
Mine really
what
wasn't made
Disney
for
owns,
big
or
screen.
can I still make a Tom Sawyer movie?
You can still make a Tom Sawyer movie. I think it's starting at a certain date, but now stuff that's already public domain didn't go back. They got it in
Yeah.
before Mickey Mouse went public.
It's just terrifying. It's
terrifying.
It's terrifying. Even Star Wars, like to think of how big Star Wars was
Uh-huh.
and how like famous it was, and Disney just walked up and was like,
Swoop.
"Want it?" Swoop and grabbed it.
and
Like,
George Lucas was like, yeah, for like, $1 billion, and
and
he's
they're
like,
like,
yeah,
"No big
done.
deal." Here,
You should
here's
watch.
check.
You should
Fox.
watch.
They own ESPN.
They own ESPN. They literally were like,
ABC.
hey, Jim Henson, we'd love to obtain the Muppets from you. And his whole life he was like, no, screw you, Disney. I hate everything about Disney. And then the dude died, and then they were like,
like-
hey, you guys want to buy it?
Yeah.
We'll give you a couple
His
$1 million.
son, right?
And they're like, yeah, sure.
Ugh.
Also a tragedy, but
He's
Yeah.
haunting his
Yeah.
son
Well, you
for
should-
sure.
I sure hope so.
The Ride of a Lifetime. It's written by one of the
Bob
the
Iger.
last. Yeah, Bob Iger.
This is a great transition. Do you know you brought this up on our very first episode?
Oh, really?
And I still
think we did,
have
yeah.
yet to.
Yeah, I still
touch
By
a
the
book.
way, he talks
I
about.
haven't read still in 40 weeks. Have not read a book.
He's responsible for all of these deals, and so he talks about all of the deals and how he made
Yep.
them happen. And it's so interesting because
He's
it
a
was
bastard.
really him that made these deals happen.
Yeah.
It wasn't like the bit like the bat. I mean,
The
money
conglomerate
helped,
that
but I'm
it
saying
is.
he went to all these people like when he acquired Marvel. He like went and met with this guy for
Marvel.
lunch, like
Marvel.
like for 3 weeks. He had lunch with this guy every day. It's like talking to him, like talking vision, all this stuff, and like assured him that like they would do justice to like the to the whole thing. And then the guy eventually sold for a lot of money. But I'm
Yeah.
saying,
Of
but
course.
that guy was never going to sell.
But
Unless,
now, I mean, since that deal, every Marvel movie that comes out makes $500 million at least, $500
well,
million.
and they're great
Jeez.
movies.
Yeah.
And I think Disney
Yeah.
does it
Well,
justice.
and then that's the
but-
thing that it, like it's just so hard for me, right? The entertainment industry in a whole, and I'm someone who like I grew up in acting classes and I grew
course.
up on stage. Like I love performing. I think
Yep.
that entertainment and acting is such an amazing outlet. But so often it's like these people are getting paid, millions and millions
Peanuts.
of dollars.
Oh, those people.
But compared to how much is getting made everywhere, and then like the cameraman is
peanuts.
Yeah, barely making a
Yeah,
living in
minimum wage.
Hollywood.
He's just happy to be there.
Yeah, his paycheck's basically covering just his rent for how much it costs to be in,
Yep.
you know,
LA.
And it's just so hard for me to be like this, and especially Disney and Disneyland, this thing is like, we bring happiness to families. A family breaks the bank just trying to take their kids there for like one trip.
But
Tell
then
you
they
what.
get you because it's like you spend all this
But it's
money,
so
but then when
awesome,
you get
and you love
here,
it.
it's like
Well,
you
one
forget
of my
about
favorite
that.
stories in Bob Iger's book is they acquired, you know, that network, TV network, and there's that whole monopoly thing where you can't
ABC.
Yeah, you can't
You can't own everything.
You can't own more than like everything or whatever, right? So you actually can't own two of the same thing in the same industry. So like they bought another, and I can't remember which one it was. They bought another network and they fully dissolved it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
they took all the
No.
stuff and like just like moved it to ABC, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
just like shut down the whole thing and like, and I was like,
And people
wow,
don't
that
even
is such a
question.
power move to be like, oh, we can't own two. It's okay.
Okay,
We're
we'll
gonna
just get rid
buy
of
one
one.
and dissolve it and
Yeah.
like
And
take
move
all
all
of
the
its
stuff onto the
resources
streaming.
into ours. And it was just
Bizarro.
like,
Jeez.
or and like there's other instances where too where I think I've heard where they're like, we'll buy it and they obviously own a similar situation, but they'll like convert it into like a movie production company
Sure.
instead of
Yeah.
a TV network.
It's just
kind of
shady.
thing.
Disney is shady. They got secrets. Just
Tell
don't
you
Well,
what.
they
listen.
might kill us
We
if they
love to
found
hate
this.
them.
So
We love to hate
But
'em.
I love that you bring up Bob Iger's book because, like I said, we did talk about it the first episode.
Yep.
And I pulled a pretty interesting pod deck here today.
Did
Go
you
ahead,
pull
you
a
wanna
book
do the-
card?
By the way,
do the bet.
poddex.com. Head on over there. Get 10% off your first order of podcast questions in a deck of cards with the code WTP.
Wow.
I pulled this particular card from the
Oh.
episode deck. This one gives you kind of topics for the episode. Obviously, we're wrapping up our episode here, but
Yeah.
it's episode 40.
Ooh.
Oof.
Kind of feels like a milestone
So
to
this
me.
is
Yeah,
40,
it
huh?
I don't know. This is 40. I tell you what, starring Paul Rudd and others. But this card says reintroduce yourself to your audience. You know, you've had 40 episodes.
Wow.
40 episodes to feel it out, right? And we're here
Whoa,
now.
okay.
So
That's a
reintroduce
good
yourself. We just interviewed Annie. We got the whole skinny on that. John, give me a little something.
Well, okay. So, I mean, things that have changed from.
Well, just reintroduce
reintroduce.
yourself.
Oh, okay. My name is John. I work at Sharp full time in IT, and I do podcasting for fun with my friends. And I produce, which is one of my favorite things about podcasting, is being able to produce it, which is weird because I always
You're
thought
pretty good at it too. You're not
good.
so bad.
Thank you. I always thought I only want to be like in front of the camera or in front of the mic, and I've really enjoyed being on the back behind the scenes. It's really where I thrive, I think.
What else is like interesting you right now?
I mean, I think it sounds so cliche, but like I'm getting more into news and politics, and I think it's really interesting because there's a lot to know, and I think it's now more than ever it's important to know it.
Yeah.
And so like 40 episodes ago, I would have said I know nothing about news and politics, but now it's becoming increasingly more important. And I think it's also because I'm getting older.
Yeah, you're 40.
Yeah.
25.
What would you say to John 40 weeks ago?
40
starting a podcast?
weeks ago.
Yeah, sure.
Wow.
A year is 52 weeks.
I would
I
say.
know. Well, we're just
Jeez.
about at that year mark, but
I would
but
say
40 felt like a good
40
time to
weeks
check
ago,
in.
I would say keep going because you're going to have the best time. Like the stuff I've done in the last 40 weeks and even before when we started Growing Pains, like and I say it a lot and it sounds cliche, but like I genuinely love what I'm doing now. Like even a year ago, I wish I could talk to myself and be like, just 6 more months and you'll be doing this
Yeah.
shit you love. You know what I'm saying?
We're about
Like,
to hit a
genuinely.
year with Growing Pains too. October 5th is the 1 year mark of the
Whoa!
first episode drop.
So pick up
So
your
you,
merch today.
you only started just about a month before we did.
Yeah, well, John's like that.
I was
John's
doing my
wearing
camera, but
merch.
it's not on me. Now it's
Hey.
on me. Growing Pains, pick up your merch.
This
link in
merch
bio.
is so cool, and I can't wait to get
Obtain
some.
it in the right color.
I'm just picky like that.
Right. But
I didn't know. I didn't realize that.
We started recording, like we recorded my intro the day before you and Jordan got engaged.
Oh yeah,
The
that was
day
July.
before.
That's
That
July.
was it. Was the excuse?
Yeah, because I used her as an excuse. That's right. I had to pick up flowers the day before we got engaged, and of course I couldn't tell Jordan I was picking up flowers. So she came over to do her intro. We
But you were
drove
actually getting
and got
flowers.
flowers. Came
Yeah.
back, and then we just had started, and she came back from me. She's like, "You guys are just getting started," and we're like, "Yeah, we're
Yeah.
just talking and hanging out."
Just what we do.
Which is funny too, because up until that point, I was really just friends with Jordan, and I didn't really know John, and I didn't have the best first
Whoa.
impression of John.
Yeah.
Don't talk about
No,
it.
that makes sense.
He's like,
Please,
please
God,
don't,
please
please
don't.
don't. I won't.
I want to hear
For
about
another
that.
time. For
I'll
another
spare
time.
you
Off the
that
air.
this time.
Thank you, please.
But so then he was like, "Can you come with me to pick up these flowers? I'm proposing to Jordan this and that." And I was like,
No.
"Yeah, sure." And I'm thinking, like, "Gosh, I'm gonna talk about this kid
Heck
with for an hour."
So,
But now
hey,
look at
John.
us.
yeah, and then we did a lot of prep for your show, which is why it premiered in October.
We recorded 3 episodes before we dropped it.
We were trying to be ahead of the
Wow.
schedule, and
And then I pulled
Oh,
a
so
fast card.
you've been way ahead of us then. You started recording in the
Before.
summer.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, we have. I mean, she has 25 episodes, so because she's bi-weekly, so
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I see. All right.
Yeah.
it's not as often, but
All right, go ahead, Cara. Reintroduce yourself.
My name's Cara. I'm 25. When we started this, I was 24.
How's that make you feel?
Fine.
Great.
Just fine.
What are you up to lately?
I still work for the Padres. That has not left.
They're playing right now.
They're doing good.
I know. I
The
work
Dodgers.
tomorrow. Or no, I work on Thursday.
They're doing good right now, or
I don't know.
they're not?
Well,
They're not
this-
doing good.
but-
in general.
I'm there. I am also working at
guys.
Starbucks still, and crossing my fingers that I will not be working at Starbucks still.
Whoa.
Hey.
The Big Mermaid's gonna
What
hear that.
else?
You better be careful.
yeah. They're probably owned by
Planning
Screw that Big Mermaid. Who
planning
cares?
my own wedding.
Disney. Ayo.
Hey. So excited.
40 weeks ago, you weren't engaged.
That's true.
Wow, isn't that
When
crazy?
did you guys get engaged?
December.
32 weeks ago. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. You're not.
Someone check
completely
the
wrong.
math. Let's see.
So
It was
only like a
probably
month into when
36
we
weeks
started.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. This is such a good memory. Ryan coming in and he wasn't with you guys. It was like the first week he for whatever reason
Drove separate or
drove
something.
separate, and he was like, "So I think I'm gonna propose to Cara." I'm like, "What?" I was like so excited. I was like, "Oh my god!" And we were like, this is a couple weeks into it, so we were kind of relatively
Yep.
new and like hanging out regularly, and it was super magical.
Wow.
It was so awesome. Sorry.
Go ahead, Cara. Continue.
What else
What do
about
you-
my life?
What else?
I don't know.
What are you interested in right now?
Right now,
Wedding planning.
Your wife. Your
Literally.
life is pretty encapsulated in wedding planning.
right now, yes.
It's a lot. It takes a lot.
I was kind of pushing off wedding planning a little bit because my brother's wedding was this past weekend.
That's right.
Just went off without a hitch.
I have a new sister. So literally these past 2 weeks, I was like, okay, after their wedding is
I'm
like
gonna
go
go
time
ahead.
for me.
Yeah.
So, and it was
Isn't that
nice
funny?
because it was kind of like a rehearsal for me. Because it's like, theirs is the same layout, how it's like in a Catholic church and then like go to the reception place. So it was a nice little dress
And
rehearsal.
she has a similar style to you.
Yeah.
And she,
Yeah.
Wow.
well, there.
That's about
Yep.
it right now.
Ryan, what about you?
No
yeah.
putting it off any longer, eh?
Bye, guy.
Nope. Your turn.
My name is Ryan Tafolla. I'm going to be turning 25 next month.
That's right. The 16th or the 14th?
That's right. The 16th.
You were right the first time.
14th is Switchfoot.
Oh.
Oh, that's right.
Wow. Big reveal again.
So exciting.
What am I? I'm making YouTube videos.
The year of
Oh, yeah.
Ryan.
Year of Yes is
Year of
almost
Yes.
done. Oh, no, it's
Which
not.
is an episode
Well,
out
I
on
mean,
Annie's podcast.
January.
Relatively
Year
speaking.
of Yes.
Year of Yes. You talked about
Video
that on-
67
Wow.
came out today.
Wow.
Watched it.
By the
liked
time this
it,
podcast
loved
came
it.
out, 68 will come out.
Yeah, it's true.
Tell you what. Having a blast doing that. It's kind of like, just like a fun thing to do during the week. Like keep me intentionally being creative, which
Yeah.
which this podcast does too. Like it's such a good like reconnect in the week, like with you guys, and just like to talk and vocalize, like talk through things in the news or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just like been really good for that. Love doing the podcast. Love making YouTube videos. I'm a musician. I work at a church, New Break Church. I direct the music there. I play with a band,
Die Vibe.
Hey, babe.
and that's about it.
Yeah.
Doing lots of fun things.
Nice.
And wedding
Creating a lot
planning.
of cool stuff. Oh, that's
Wedding
right.
Yeah, you're helping.
Are you, wait, is he
I'm
really
supporting
helping
the cause.
or what's the deal?
John's like, am I
So-
supposed to be helping?
Because I
Hey.
get a lot of crap from Jordan.
Am I? Am I actually helping?
Ryan helps me by calming me down
Oh, see,
You do
I'm
that.
doing
You
the
do
same
that.
thing with Jordan
and telling me that
I'm
it's going to be
helping.
okay.
Somebody should tell Jordan I'm helping then, because I'm doing the same job.
I booked
as
our
Ryan
whole
is.
honeymoon.
That is true. He had honeymoon duty.
Heck?
Yeah,
I'm going back to Hawaii.
nice.
Which I'm feeling very conflicted because I'm seeing a lot of posts being like,
Yeah, me too.
don't go
Don't
to Hawaii.
come to Hawaii.
You're ruining this
Yeah.
state.
The
I got that
governor-
too.
Like the natives
But-
hate
The governor
you. I'm
literally
like,
made like a giant speech, like fancy, being like, stop coming.
It's so rough.
I think the difference is don't come and be rude to the people who live there. I think that from my friends I've talked to about
Yes.
Hawaii,
Uh-huh.
Yes.
because I have a lot of I lived there, so I have
Did
a lot
you
of friends.
did you make
who live
friends
there.
with like native people or?
Yeah, and most of my friends who live there have lived there their whole life,
Sure.
even if they're not like Hawaiian.
Right.
But I think it just kind of comes down to they are a place that like they live off of tourism.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But tourists are coming and being like disrespectful and rude
I
and
hate
saying
that.
like,
Yeah, you need to respect a place
don't
that you're
tell me to wear a
going."
mask. I'm the one who pays your check or whatever. Just stuff
That's
like that
so
coming
rough.
in being
That
entitled.
is
Oh.
so gross.
And
I
so
hate
it's that kind of thing where if you stay in like the more touristy area and do all them, because it's amazing. Like there's so many cool things that are set
Yeah.
up for tours and tourists
Yeah.
that are so cool that Hawaii has to offer.
Yeah.
If you do that, no one's gonna even question
Like
you.
we're not coming in like guns blazing, like trying to own the place.
Yeah.
Like I would never want to do that. Well, maybe I am. No, I would
already
never
did it
want
once,
to do
okay?
that.
that little well. It's like
Well.
till you're like, well, yeah, you're right.
I would never want to like impose on people that are just trying to like live their lives and like obviously I think we talked about it on the show. I think it's horrendous like what this country did to
Hawaii,
a
yeah.
sovereign nation.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
We're like,
Crazy.
we want it. We were Disney in that aspect.
But that's why I'm conflicted.
Stop.
America's Disney.
That's
hold
why
on.
I'm conflicted because
Wow.
it's really fun.
I think you.
Okay, go ahead. TikToks. Oh shoot! Sorry.
Wait.
Ryan.
There's a strict
You would think
process
after,
here. 40 episodes.
40 episodes. Ryan and John react.
That's it. That's the end.
Let's see if Cara figured it out. She had a whole week. Okay.
Well, first I got to do the little remote. Yeah.
The little
boy.
baby remotes.
Perfect.
Okay.
And then do you have the audio figured out?
Yes, I did.
Maybe.
Find out. Guess we'll
I
find
did.
out.
I did. Okay, so
She
read
is
this
doing the
before I
most
play
right
it.
now. And I appreciate that.
This really looks so good and high end, but I gotta know what's behind the. Was that a good TikTok voice?
Yep.
Very good.
What's behind the little door? The what?
Here comes the boy.
Oh, that's so loud.
Oh, it's Conan.
It's a Conan shrine. Did it
It's a sign.
peep the,
So
the
creepy.
candle?
That volume is not going to the
I know,
speakers,
I know.
but that's okay.
Hold on. Don't you worry.
Can you
Don't
fix
you
that?
worry. I chose external
Don't you
speakers because that's
worry
what it was on
about
last time.
External headphones.
Oh, headphones. Here we go.
And I think
All right.
it's fixed from last
Go
week,
ahead and
right?
let's test it. Go ahead and play that one again.
Oh, okay.
Just real quick.
Sure.
It's
Oh, I'm
probably
not
loud.
going to
It's
do full
probably
screen.
so loud.
There we go.
There it is.
Not bad,
It
okay.
works.
All right.
I love the Conan Shrine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love Conan.
Speaking of comedians that, well, that's assuming a lot about myself. Comedians that are giving up. He gave up his show, right?
He
Not gave
did.
it up, but he's ended
done.
his show and is just basically doing his podcast now.
Yeah. Which his podcast is great.
His
so.
Gotta love
podcast
it.
is great.
It's so good. I'm a big fan.
I guess
I talk about it every
accidentally
week, I
walked into the
think.
wrong escape room. Camera footage.
Camera footage.
Oh, this looks funny. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
They just freak
They were
out.
Here's what I'll
doing,
say,
so
I
they're
would
doing an
do
escape
that.
room and he just opened the door.
Yep.
By the way, audio, RIP headphone
I know.
users.
Yeah,
That's it.
sorry.
That was bad audio. My bad.
Is it a TikTok, I wonder?
Yeah.
It was. It's like the
It's like
It's
it's
like
supposed to
screaming
be
over
like
the
it's
that.
that
security
RIP.
camera.
headphone
Well, I would do
users.
the same thing because I feel like this. I have the same mentality when I'm in an escape room. I'm like, something's gonna pop
Yes,
out, even if nothing
that's
ever
why
does.
you get so
of course.
scared.
You're like,
Have you guys all done escape rooms?
Yes.
You've never
Let's
done an
do
escape
one.
I've
room?
never done
Oh.
an escape room.
You guys,
I'm
there's
gonna
one in
petition
Fashion
though.
Valley.
There is?
Yeah.
To
Yes.
petition.
We
I'm
need to do one.
petitioning for an Albright Entertainment escape room
oh, the
experience.
whole cast. Okay,
Now that
done
I'm
and
here.
done.
I'm in.
Done
Yep.
and done.
Thank
Wait,
you.
business
do we have to
expense.
include
Easy.
in the round?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Okay, glad.
All right, so you're breaking up with me because I'm too.
So you're breaking up with me because I'm too
Lazy.
The little floopy legs.
Oh, that's a cute
Is that
one.
cute? I'm such a cute
Every time I
little
see a
pup.
puppy now, I just see massive responsibility, and
Oh, yeah.
Gosh, how many TikToks you got?
I got good ones this
Oh my
week.
gosh, when my boyfriend and I got each other for our anniversary. Oh,
Ooh, should be interesting. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! The audio! Oh my gosh!
okay, we're gonna be cutting that audio out.
So much there.
Yes,
The music was a lot, but
but the actual TikTok,
Okay, you didn't want to vet that one.
nah.
Okay,
Nah.
so I'm so glad you didn't. That is so good. It's too bad nobody's gonna hear it because we
so
probably
she
will
got
cut it out.
she got
True.
an engagement ring and he got a
Lego
Lego
set.
set.
But Star Wars
I had a
ones.
similar Christmas. That's crazy. Go ahead. Wait till the end. Why did the baby scream match up with me opening my mouth so perfectly? Okay. Go ahead.
Here,
That's pretty
I'll
good.
turn the volume up on that one
That
just
was-
a little bit.
Bizarre.
Okay, I'm gonna play that one again because it's funny.
It's funnier with
so
volume.
weird.
It's pretty good.
That's so weird.
Just real fast, like, what a brave person to go get their ears pierced at Claire's.
Oh,
Like
I was
the-
that person.
So was I, but now that I look back, it's like any 16-year-old they just give an earring gun to, and they're like, just try to line them up.
Yep. No kidding.
Well,
I'm gonna
buy
get
her
my.
merch.
I'm getting my ears pierced.
Buy Annie's merch. Go listen to her podcast, Growing Pains with
Yeah.
Annie. Keep it in the network.
Anything
you know?
else you want to plug, Annie? Got any big?
Follow our TikTok, Growing Pains with Annie
Oh,
on
wait, should
TikTok,
we-
on social media. Ooh.
Oh,
I mean, I don't know. Should we? I don't know. It's
I
up
mean,
to
I'm
you.
here.
true.
Okay, so if you're watching this, you'll hopefully have seen it on social media from all of our accounts.
Yes.
But we, Growing Pains with Annie, The Mere Effect, and What the Podcast, are giving away a free pair of AirPods.
Wow.
Giveaway.
That's insane.
And we've been talking about it for too long.
40
It's true.
weeks.
They've been sitting there for a long time.
Yeah.
But we're giving us a timeline. We have to do it by when this posts. We have to
Yeah.
at least put it out there. So I think the way that we're doing this is you have to follow all of these accounts.
All of the
Mere
accounts.
Effect Podcast, What the Podcast 2020, and Growing Pains with Annie.
Mm-hmm.
And then you should like the post that you're seeing.
Yeah. Maybe they'll put an extra
That'll help
entry.
us figure out who you are.
Yep.
And then
Mm-hmm.
in a couple weeks, we're going to announce the winners. I'll leave the announcement a little bit of a mystery, but it's not going to be a normal announcement
Yeah.
for that, at the very least.
Tell you what, it won't be.
Yeah.
And you could win these.
Is it like a spin the
AirPods.
wheel kind of situation, or
Oh,
we
for
just pick
sure.
somebody
For
randomly?
But I'm
sure.
talking about the setting in which we're going to announce it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like we can't. I don't know if we're ready to release that yet. But I'm saying it will be announced, and the details will be on the post that you'll see on any one of our social medias come Friday. This is posting on Friday.
Hey, you'll have about a month, maybe a little less than a month.
I mean, answer. I mean, tell your friends. I mean, it's gonna be great, and it's free AirPods. So I mean,
Yeah.
what's
Free-
AirPods.
free
the
AirPods.
best way to listen to our podcast is through these AirPods.
The real
Yes.
prize is going to be when season 3, episode 2 of The Mirror Effect comes out.
Well,
That's
So
well, that will be soon. How dare you?
All right, Pilot Ryan, send us out.
Hold
Oh,
on.
Pilot Ryan.
yeah.
I took
Wait,
my shades off. This is your captain speaking. We're cruising altitude at 40,000 feet. The stewardess kindly asked that you form your own opinions. And we'll see you next week on What the Podcast!